Solving by completing the square, type 2. Okay, so now that we got the hang of completing the square, let's do some problems where it's really applicable. Let's check out this problem, x squared plus 6x minus 11 equals 0. So what happens when we try to use diamond to solve this problem? So the negative 11 goes up top, the positive 6 goes down here, and what we find is there's no two numbers that can complete the puzzle piece, okay? So remember, we call this prime, or it's not factorable. But have no fear, because we can complete the square to find the solutions. Alright, so our first step, we want to move the c value over to the other side of the equation. So the c value in this problem is the negative 11, so we're going to add 11 to both sides. Okay, so we get x squared plus 6x blank equals 11 blank. Alright, now how do we fill in the blanks? We start with this positive 6 and we divide it by 2. That will give us 3. We want to circle the 3, remember, and then how do we bring it up? We square the 3. So 3 squared gives us a positive 9. So we write plus 9 here, and we write plus 9 over here as well. Okay, so factor the left side, simplify the right side. Remember, we're going to do x, we're going to bring down this positive 3 from our circle, squared equals, and then 11 plus 9 gives us 20. So nothing different so far. Step 4 is where it's going to get different. So it says take the square root of both sides. So we're going to take the square root over here, we're going to take the square root over here. Now on the left hand side, we just get x plus 3. Same thing. Now on the right hand side, when you try to plug in the square root of 20 on your calculator, we get a decimal, okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to leave it in the square root, and we're just going to tack on those plus or minuses right at the beginning, and we're just going to jot down square root of 20, like so. Now every problem in task 2 will be this way, okay? And now we just split them up, right? So same thing, draw your arrows. We're going to write x plus 3 equals positive square root of 20. Okay, x plus 3 equals negative square root of 20. And then we just solve in the same way that we did before. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides, subtract 3 here. So one of my answers is going to be x equals the square root of 20 minus 3. Subtract 3 over here, subtract 3 over here. My other answer is going to be x equals negative square root 20 minus 3. And that's as far as we can simplify it. So those are my two answers. Alright, example 2. X squared minus 12x equals negative 13. Now in this problem, our step 1 is already taken care of for us, right? The negative 13 is on the right hand side. So let's jump straight into the blanks. So I'm going to write x squared minus 12x blank equals negative 13 blank. Remember, we take this negative 12 divided by 2. We get 6. Negative 6, sorry. Circle that negative 6. And negative 6 squared gives us positive 36. So we're going to write plus 36 here and plus 36 here. Okay? And now we factor on the left side. So we're going to do x, and I'm going to bring down this negative 6, minus 6 squared equals, and we get negative 13 plus 36. That gives us 23. So I'm going to write 23 over here. Alright, now we take the square root of both sides. And remember, on the left-hand side, we're just left with x minus 6 On the right-hand side, same idea as the last problem. When we put the square root of 23 in our calculator, we get a decimal. So we're just going to tack on, do not forget about the plus or minus, and then keep it in this square root form, okay? And now we're going to split them up and solve. So we have x minus 6 equals positive square root of 23, and we have x minus 6 equals negative square root of 23. And we want to add 6 to both sides. Okay, so I get x equals the square root of 23 plus 6. That's one of my answers. And over here, I'm going to add 6 to both sides. And I get x equals negative square root of 23 plus 6. So those are my two answers. All right, one more problem here. So remember, our first step, we want to move the c over. So this is a positive 4. We want to subtract 4 from both sides. Okay? And we get x squared plus 10x blank equals negative 16 minus 4 gives us negative 20 blank. Okay, now let's fill in the blanks. We take this positive 10 divided by 2. That gives us 5. Circle the 5. 5 squared is going to give us positive 25. So I write that in both blanks. Okay, now let's factor the left side. I'm going to do x plus 5. Remember, I'm getting the 5 from right here. Squared equals negative 20 plus 25. That gives us positive 5. All right. Now we want to take the square root of both sides. So we're going to take the square root here, take the square root here. On the left-hand side, I'm just left with x plus 5. On the right-hand side, do not forget your plus or minus. And I'm going to put square root of 5. And now let's split it up into two different equations. So one of my equations is x plus 5 equals positive square root of 5. The other one is x plus 5 equals negative square root of 5. And then I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides over here. So I get x equals square root of 5 minus 5. And then I'm going to subtract 5 over here. And I get x equals negative square root of 5 minus 5. Okay, now just a quick thing. Notice that I'm not combining these, okay? You can't combine a square root, a number that's in a square root, and a number outside of it. All right, so we can't combine those and make 10, for example. We have to leave it in this form.